EEKtober, everybody. We're doing 31 days of scary movies, and today is day 7. I'm your host, Melissa Forziat. I'm a keynote speaker. When I speak, my topic is something that I call Take the Doughnut, which is another way to say Carpe Diem. That comes from this strange thing that happened to me in college where I left a donut on a table, and it became an object lesson for me in what it looks like to leave opportunities behind. So I don't want to do that anymore. I want to take the donut. Now, from time to time, I'll give myself a Take the Doughnut challenge. I'll say there's something that I want to do, and it's a way to sort of keep myself accountable and make it official. And this time I'm opening up this Take the Doughnut challenge to anybody who wants to join. And so here we all are, 31 days of scary movies. Today, we are talking about Poltergeist from 1982. This was directed by Tobe Hooper. It was written by Steven Spielberg and Michael Grace and Mark Victor. I'll list a bunch of people that it stars. We've got JoBeth Williams as Diane. We've got Craig Nelson as Steve. Maybe I should say Craig T. Nelson as Steve. We've got Heather O'Rourke as Carol Ann. We've got Beatrice Straight as Dr. Lesh. Dominique Dunn as Dana, Oliver Robbins as Robbie, and Zelda Rubinstein as Tangina. There are other people in the film, but those are people who are extremely noteworthy from the film. In this series, there is a Poltergeist 2, a Poltergeist 3, and a 2015 remake. So if you're into this, there's more where that came from. As with so many of the films in the 31 Days of Scary Movies that I've curated for you. And, I'm really excited to get into this one. I guess some overall notes to start with. First of all, my experience with this movie, I remember watching this as a kid. I think it was my sister who was watching it. I'm 5 years younger than her. And she was probably watching it, and I probably shouldn't have been watching it. But I have, the thing about this film is there are some visuals here that are so strong that really stick with you, or it stuck with my little kid brain, because there's stuff that even now as I watch it as an adult, I'm like, I remember seeing that when I was little, and like the impression some of those scenes made on me. And honestly, the parts that stick out to me the most are the things that scared the kids. So that probably makes sense, right? Now, I would say, first of all, I didn't pick Poltergeist 2 for this series. Could have made this a double feature. I will say that the scariest thing to me in this franchise is that there is a character in Poltergeist 2 that just looking at him creeped me out when I was young. I'm deeply apologize to Julian Beck, because just looking at you made me feel afraid. I think they were playing it up a bit with him, and I also think he was really near the end of his life. So you know what? Sorry, Julian Beck, but he just look up a picture of him if you haven't seen Poltergeist 2. Look up a picture of him in that movie. And it was the stuff of nightmares for me as a kid. But anyway, this film, Poltergeist, the first one, the original from 1982, I feel like it has a playful tone. It's very action driven. It's very visual. It's certainly got its serious and scary moments, but it also has a very playful energy to me. And there are moments where it kind of goes for a joke. And if you're really afraid of the film, maybe the jokes don't, like, you kind of, I don't know if they land for you if you're too afraid. But if you're watching it and you're not super afraid, it's like the jokes definitely are there. And sometimes they're quick, but there's buttons on so many scenes. I also think I feel like there's a lot of potential. We're like a couple scenes shy of being able to make a full-on romantic movie trailer. There's like just enough stuff here, like Diane and Steve getting high, Diane and Steve having their kiss in front of, like, right as she's going to go save Carol Ann. Like, I think there are these moments in this film that you could cut together with different music in the background. You could even start with the music that they begin and end the film with, and then just take it to a different place, and boom, you've got a romance movie. So I'm curious if anybody's ever tried to do this. I'll have to look to see if that's ever happened, but I was thinking about that as I was watching the film this time. So those are a few things that sort of just struck me in general. This movie, the other thing I want to point out is this is a really good nostalgia movie for anybody who remembers living during this year, because there's a lot of, like, if you look around the house and you look at different rooms, especially for me, being a kid at the same time that Carol Ann and Robbie are kids, I can look around that room and I can see a lot of stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, the set deck was really of the time, and which isn't hard to do because they weren't trying to do a period piece. They were trying to do a movie at the time, so they just grabbed the stuff that they had. But it was a flashback for me to think about all of those memories from my own childhood. So some of those I'll point out along the way, but we're going to open. Obviously, the TV is going to be a really important thing. It's going to be a character in this film. So we're going to open on the national anthem that we're hearing. We're going to get close-ups of hard to distinguish shapes. Now, we're going to see this same sequence happen again later. And what I know this to be is, around this time, they would, when the broadcast for the night had ended, when the programming had ended, they would run this loop, this national anthem, and then this series of images. And then right after, that was it. That was the end of the broadcast programming for the night. And so that's what we're getting here. So we're hearing the music, we're seeing those images, we're very close up to them, so we don't necessarily know what we're looking at. It's hard to sort of make out the shapes at first. And then it cuts to static. The static is going to be very important for us here. We're going to see Steve, he's fallen asleep in front of this TV in the living room. We're going to be introduced to I love this dog, okay? We're introduced to all of our characters, or at least the ones in the family, by the family dog, who is awesome. I love this dog. The dog even has comedy in this movie, okay? At least 2 really good moments of comedy from this dog. So the dog is going to walk out of the room that Steve is in, go up the stairs to Diane. Then we're going to meet the kids. He is sort of like terrorizing everybody in their sleep. He grabs Robbie, their boy, fell asleep with a bag of chips, and the dog wants the chips. So he grabs the bag and he pulls the bag and he leaves 95% of the chips just strewn out all over Robbie's bed because he pulls them, and that's the way gravity takes the chips. But he eats a couple that are left over when he gets it into the hallway. And then he ends up waking up Carol Ann. And Carol Ann didn't need any help with that because she is hearing something. The parents think she sleepwalks, but we're going to see this happen in real time. So Carol Ann is going to go downstairs to the TV that's playing the static in front of Steve, her dad. She's going to sit in front of it and she starts having a conversation with somebody in the TV that none of us can see or hear. She's saying, hello, what do you look like? Talk louder, I can't hear you. At this point, she's waking up the family. They come down to check it out. She's like, hello, I can't hear you. And they're all like, what is up? What's happening? She says, 5. Yes, I don't know. She's having an entire conversation with beings in the TV, or at least one being in the TV. She touches the TV. But at this point, the whole family is chalking this up to sleepwalking. Because what else would you attribute it to? And then we're going to be introduced to our town. We've been introduced to the family, and now we need to see the town itself. So we're going to get, first of all, it's called, the place that they're living in is Cuesta Verde Estates. We are going to hear this lovely, hopeful music. This sort of like, it's in this idyllic setting. Like we're looking at a town in a valley where all the houses look kind of the same, even just from the roofs. You can see sort of from a higher up vantage point, we're looking down on the valley, and then we go into the valley and we can see kids playing, and it feels like a place that everybody thinks is safe. Could be any town. Every house kind of looks like every other house. And we're going to see something going on here. It's game day. Some guys bringing beer over to the Freelings house, this family that we just met. So that's good. But in other news, the family bird died. So bird is dead. Diane, the mother, sees this and she's like, oh no. She tries to dispose of the bird without being noticed, but Carol Ann catches her. She's like, oh no, the bird. So we're going to sort of split between scenes of dealing with the bird, and Robbie climbing a tree. The creepy tree that he hates so much that's right outside his window. When he's outside, he likes to climb it and see what's out there for him to see. So he is climbing the tree. Carol Ann and Diane are prepping a proper burial instead of flushing this bird down the toilet. Carol Ann's very nurturing. Something, I mean, you kind of grow to love Carol Ann fairly quickly, even though like she has a very distinct look. We're talking like the really just flat cut, bold edge of those bangs. There's sort of no mistaking what this movie is just by looking at Carol Ann. And she just has a very loving, tender side. She wants to take care of people. She wants to take care of even a dead bird. That's going to come in handy for her later in this film. So she, you know, makes sure the bird has what it needs. They're going to bury the bird. She's crying. You know, they eulogize the bird. Robbie's up in the tree. He sees clouds very fast approaching. But, you know, as sentimental as Carol Ann is about this bird, nobody else is. And so they bury the bird. And then she very cheerily says, "Can I get a goldfish now?" I mean, just little buttons on these scenes that you might, if you're scared by this movie, you might be more likely to have noticed this little funny button they did on the end of the scene, because it's before we get into the freaky stuff. But it's, you know, this is the type of stuff they have throughout the movie. We're going to get now the exterior of the house. We're going to see lightning flashes because there's a storm oncoming. And we're going to find out as this movie goes along, there's pretty much a storm all the time. There's a storm brewing always. So right now we're going to get these lightning flashes. Carol Ann is way overfeeding some fish. You know, you ask yourself how the bird died, and you got to wonder when you see how much food she's given these fish. Robbie is scared of the storm. When I look around his room, he's reading right now a Captain America comic. But he's got other stuff we'll see in this scene. He's got like the game Clue, a game that I played many times. He's got a Star Wars poster. He's really into Star Wars and sports. So he's got Star Wars stuff kind of all over the room. He's got like, there's a Darth Vader. Is it a radio or something? It's a helmet, but it's a radio that's like right over his bed. He's got like a Chewbacca blanket or sweatshirt. There's, you know, all kinds of stuff happening there. He's got a creepy clown that's sitting in a chair and it terrifies him. I don't know why this clown still exists in the room. He's been terrified of this probably his whole life. How is it still in this chair? He also has a 1988 Super Bowl poster. There's helmets in the room. There's like, you know, he likes sports. He's got like a soccer ball. He's got some interests that are very clear to us. His interests, I'd say, are sort of the most fleshed out of any of the kids. So that's what's going on there. Meanwhile, Diane and Steve, the parents, they're in bed, but they're high. They've been smoking pot, and they have the munchies. So they've been eating some food and they've got the giggles, and he's reading Reagan, the man, the president. They're talking a little bit about Carol Ann's sleepwalking. They're putting a name to the thing that we just saw. But they're basically off duty right now. They're just having a night with the adults. And so Robbie is going to throw a blanket over the creepy clown because that'll do it. But it's not the only thing that's scaring him tonight. The storm is really upsetting. So Robbie's going to come in and interrupt his parents as his dad's doing a Donald Duck voice. That's how high they are. And Steve's going to bring him back to his room, and he's going to hang out with his son for a little bit. He tries to reassure him about the scary tree. It's like, no, it's not scary. It protects us. Yeah, talk to me again in like an hour of this movie. He says there's this trick. Now, here's the thing that you can do. There's a trick. You count between the lightning and the thunder, and the distance between those, the time between those, it'll get longer and longer the further the storm is away from you. So that's a thing that you can do to have some control in this situation. Robbie's going to try that. He likes the idea. Carol Ann has a toy phone. She gets a call for Steve. He's like, take a message for me. But you know who's really on the phone right now? Dana, the teenager. He's like, nope. He bursts in on her, catches her on the phone. He's like, nope, can't be on the phone. So we are going to get Robbie and Carol Ann counting the storm because this should do it. This should make sure the kids aren't too scared. This should let the adults go back to doing fun things. And then we're going to hear another thunder crash and cut to them in bed with Diane and Steve. And then we're going to hear the national anthem again because we've gotten to the end of the broadcast. And so now from a little bit further back, we can see the TV and it's playing those visuals for us. Again, the same visuals. And when it stops, the static begins. And we zoom out from the room. We're going to see zoom to a wide shot of the room. And then we're going to zoom back in to a closer shot of the TV on the static. Now it's lighting the room. It's making like flickering light in the room. And then we're going to hear some whispers and a piercing sound. And Carol Ann is going to wake up and she's going to go to the TV because somebody is speaking to her. She's going to reach out to it. And we actually see this wispy smoke-like hand reach back to her. Oh my gosh. So it's actually physically coming out. I don't know if she was actually seeing this before. I think she was just hearing it before. So now things are escalating. The smoky hand is going to get longer and longer. It's going to reach into the room. Sort of a smoky light fills the room. And then it shoots out across the room onto the wall over the bed, like above where the headboard would end. And she's watching all of this. The house shakes. It's like an earthquake that's happening. And this wakes everybody up. And Carol Ann's going to say, and again, if you're making a trailer for this film, this is definitely the kind of thing that's going to go into it. She's going to say, they're here. Because, I mean, just iconic moments from this movie, right? That's one of them for sure. Next day, we're going to find that they're digging a hole for a pool. They got some workers over at the house. Steve is on the phone talking with a friend about the earthquake. The friend's like, what? I have no idea. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, are you kidding me right now? It shook the entire house. The guy's like, sorry, I don't know. Dana is feeling objectified by the construction workers who in more than one way are pretty gross actually in this film. And so she finds many different ways to gesture to flip them off and to curse them out and to do all kinds of things. So meanwhile, Diane, she is, everybody is getting some breakfast. The kids are really rowdy. She's getting breakfast to them. She's like, about the thing you said last night, Carol Ann, who did you mean when you said they're here? Just walk me through that. Carol Ann's like, the TV people. That's all she's got. We're going to see Carol Ann walk over to the kitchen TV, which now turns to static. She's like, her face is right up to it. The thing that your parents always told you not to do. And we're going to see Robbie is noticing something amiss. His utensils are bent almost to a 90-degree angle. Not quite all the way there, but they're bent in a way that they shouldn't be bent. And like all of them. So that's a concern. Diane notices something amiss, that the chairs are kind of pulled out from the table, but she just thinks that's the kids not doing the thing they're supposed to do of tucking the chairs in. So she's going to yell at them for that. Carol Ann, so we're kind of setting the scene for people are starting to experience some weird things during the day. Diane is going to clear the table. She's going to switch the TV channel so that Carol Ann doesn't ruin her eyes. She's going to go to the bathroom, and when she notices that the dog is barking a lot at the wall over the bed, the place that we saw the light go to earlier. The dog even goes as far as to bring a toy to it like it's his master. So now we need to see what's happening in the kitchen. First, yuck. One of the construction workers is leaning into the house, eating their food. He takes the spoon out of the sauce pot that's on the stove. He tastes it and puts it back in. It's easily the most horrifying thing that happens in this film. I can't. Don't. Okay, anyway, so that happens. She catches him doing this. She's like, hey, scram. And she turns back. The kitchen is clear now, completely clear, but all of the chairs are away from the table. She's like, you guys, oh, those kids with the chairs. She puts all the chairs back where they're supposed to be. We're going to see Carol Ann distract her. She touches her, gives her a little jump scare. Diane's going to be like, don't you do that with the chairs. And then she gets something, she turns back, and now all of the chairs are in like a pyramid, like they're stacked on top of each other on top of the table in a feat of engineering, a magic trick, if you will. And nobody could do it that fast, but somebody must have. And so she is stunned by this. It clearly wasn't Carol Ann. Carol Ann hasn't moved. She looks at Carol Ann. She's like, TV people? Carol Ann's like, yeah. But Carol Ann's never actually seen them. She just knows that something weird happened with the chairs. So we are going to see Steve, his job, he's a real estate agent. He is a realtor. He works for a real estate company. We're going to find out later, like he had potential to be like up higher in the ranks, but right now he's showing some people a home that looks really exactly the layout of the home we were just in of the Freelings. And they're on the fence. They're not so sure. He's like, no, see, it looks like all the other homes, but it doesn't have to. You can do cool things with it. They're like, they're not into it. So we're going to see Steve coming home that night. Storm's coming in again, yet again, because they need another storm. Diane runs to get him. She's excited. She's like, you're not going to believe what's been happening. She shows him this experiment she's been running all day. She's got a circle on one end of the floor, circle on the other end of the floor in the kitchen, and a line between them. And she puts a chair in one place and it moves all the way across the floor on its own to the other circle. She's like, it's amazing, isn't it? She's stoked. Carol Ann is bored at this point. She's seen this trick 1,000 times. And Steve has a healthy amount of respect for how awkward and weird this is. So he's not so sure about it. She's going to then put her daughter in the circle. Carol Ann puts on her helmet. She's clearly done this a bunch of times already. And then Carol Ann is moved to the other circle on the floor without assistance from any humans. And then she explains, so she's clearly done this herself too. She's like, it's the tickling feeling and it feels like the tickle is pulling you. Like, okay. All right. This doesn't feel like a natural response to this phenomenon, but okay. So Steve hasn't been as close to this, and he's like, I actually hate what you've revealed to me. Let's go check out if anybody else is dealing with this. He's going to go to the next door neighbors who he's had a little battle with, because when they were watching the game, we found the TV channel was automatically changing to Mr. Rogers, which you would think has to do with what's happening right now. But no, turns out the neighbors' TV and his TV are a little too close. So then when they use the remote, they change each other's channels, and it's become a bit of a war for them. So they're not on the best of terms. But after finding this little bit out about the sliding across the floor, Steve and Diane are going to go over to the neighbor's house and be like, have you by any chance like had anything weird happen? He's like, nope, nothing weird here. We're perfect. This guy is really not a fan of Steve and Diane, I would say. So that is the latest and greatest that's happening there. We're going to find out we've got more dishes moving by themselves, furniture moving by themselves. Like we're hearing a number of things have happened here. We've had a storm brewing, and so we're going to get another storm. Robbie is counting because that's his new trick that makes him feel a little bit safer. Diane is excited. She's like, this is, this thing we discovered today, we shouldn't be afraid of it. It's another side of nature. It's just it's a thing we don't understand, but that doesn't mean it's bad. Steve was like, no, nobody goes into the kitchen until we figure out what this is. I don't know how they're going to execute that, but okay. Robbie is counting. We can tell that the storm is getting closer. And then see this scary tree that is actually protecting them, according to Steve. Not tonight, it's not. Whatever's been happening is going to really escalate. Something in this house wants Carol Ann. So it's going to create a distraction, and the tree is going to grab Robbie out of his bed. It's going to crash through his window. It's going to grab Robbie out of his bed, pull him out of the house. He's going to be outside screaming inside the tree as it tries to consume him. And this, of course, is going to give the parents some pause. So they are going to run out to try to rescue him, leaving Carol Ann alone in her room. And Dana, who's just, what's Dana up to? Dana, get with the program. So Carol Ann, now alone, is experiencing some strange things in the bedroom, because that's the real point of what's happening here. This Robbie stuff is just for fun. These ghosts do not want Robbie. They want Carol Ann, but they're distracting the parents with Robbie. So now we're going to see the closet light up and a wind starts, and there's like a gravitational pull happening towards the closet. Everything, all the toys in the room are starting to gather into the closet. Carol Ann, the wind is coming through her hair. She's screaming. And when she gets sucked into the closet, the trees had enough with Robbie. So Robbie and Steve are now safely on the ground, and the whole family is going to run into the house because they notice that Carol Ann is not there. So they're going to see, oh my God, like everything is now up against the closet door in the room. They start unstacking, unpiling things, and Carol Ann's not there. They check the house. We get a little toy robot laughing. Carol Ann's not there. Where did Carol Ann go? We go to the parents' bedroom. There's still static on TV. And there's a low voice that we can't quite make out. Diane's like, oh, she might be in the swimming pool. It's such a hazard. Why are we doing this? She runs to the swimming pool. Steve jumps in to look for Carol Ann, doesn't see her, but Robbie has the right idea. He is taking refuge in his parents' bedroom, and he hears Carol Ann's voice coming through the TV. So now he's screaming, and he's like, Mom, come on, Mom. She comes in, she's looking all over. She hears Carol Ann's voice, and whew, thank goodness, Carol Ann's been found. Wait a minute, she's in the TV. So Diane touches the TV, and now we all know where Carol Ann is or how she's communicating. Okay, next day, we're going to see that Steve has gone to see somebody named Dr. Lesh. I mean, this would be a really quick thing to find this person and get a meeting in a day. I guess it could have been more than a day, but he's not, he's going to be moving on this fairly quickly. He meets the team. They basically research, they investigate paranormal activity. That's not her day job. Her day job is she's a psychologist. This is her hobby. And she's got a couple people with her who support her on her team. It's like a quick interview. He's like, please find our girl. So we're going to see a tour of the Freeling house for Dr. Lesh and the team. They're going to explain, like, Robbie's now sleeping in the parents' room. They've locked the door to Carol Ann's room. They explain, Dr. Lesh's team explains how they investigate haunted houses. They've got all these gadgets. They're going to open the door to Carol Ann's room, and things are flying, and they're moving on their own, and they're making noises, and they're scary. Dr. Lesh is pretty freaked out at this point, which is disconcerting if you're the Freelings, because this is the person who's supposed to be the expert. And there's this great, like, again, we have these little moments of comedy because we've had a lot of sort of scary stuff happening here. And so they're still sort of debriefing in the kitchen, all getting some tea. Dr. Lesh is like, well, the determination of whether your home is haunted is not easy, as a coffee pot slides all the way across the table. She's like, it's like the ghost, the poltergeist, whatever it is just like, oh yeah, just messing with her. She said, what I mean is that it could be a poltergeist instead of a classic haunting. She's going to distinguish what those things are. She says poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings are associated with a house, and hauntings can go on for years. Hauntings usually don't revolve around people. Now, it's kind of interesting with this film because this is exposition that's meant to give us a lot of context for the film. The movie kind of leaves it up in the air. I mean, we know for sure the demon wanted Carol Ann, or whatever this is, the spirits wanted Carol Ann, but they mess with Robbie. So by this definition, it would be a poltergeist they're dealing with if what they want is just Carol Ann. But if Carol Ann can be in other places, like if she could be in this hotel room at the end of the film and not be bothered there, then it would be a haunted house issue. So it's a weird like thing. The movie is called Poltergeist, so I think it's trying to tell you up front we're dealing with a poltergeist. But Dr. Lesh says that the hauntings can go on for years, and that tends to be a longer duration. So we don't necessarily know like how long the poltergeist situation can go on for. She hasn't clarified that here. So it does leave a little bit up in the air, which might help you get into a sequel. Granted, the movie's called Poltergeist, so I think it's trying to like root itself in the ground fairly firmly on what it's showing us, but the characters don't know that. So it's giving us room to explore both of these pathways. Diane's going to show more fun things. She's going to show the TV. We're going to do a little experiment where she calls to Carol Ann and they have a little conversation. She's like, I'm afraid of the light. There's light here. Dr. Lesh is going to confuse me to no end on this point. These experts with their go to the light, stay away from the light, go to the light, stay away from the light situation. In this moment, Dr. Lesh is saying, stay away from the light. We're going to see a little storm form in the living room and some jewelry is going to rain down. And this is going to be exactly where that portal opening is at the end of the film, later in the film. So Carol Ann's saying there's somebody else here. She's really scared at this one. She's saying, help me. We're hearing some footsteps, some pretty heavy footsteps as the voice travels. Diane goes to the stairs and the wind blows her hair back and she says, oh my God, that was Carol Ann. She's so happy. She's connected with Carol Ann for a moment. She went through Diane's soul, and then louder footsteps follow, even heavier footsteps. And there's growling and there's a fierce wind in the living room, and Carol Ann is now gone. Dr. Lesh says, where was Carol Ann when she disappeared? We're going to go to the bedroom closet. Well, that's the plan, except before that happens, one of Dr. Lesh's team members is going to come down with a bite on him, an actual bite. That's it for him. He's done at this house. No more of that. Dana also, the older daughter, she's like, I'd like to stay somewhere else tonight. Thanks. So we're going to see that night, the people who are staying have stayed. We've got Lesh and the team in the house investigating that night. We've got one more night with one of there are two team members that Dr. Lesh has. They're both going to stick it out one more night, even though one of them has a bite. But this is the last night he's going to be there because he can't tolerate this. So we're going to see them sort of setting their things up and starting to run their experiments. Lesh is like, look, I'm scared too. It's just a hobby for me. We have a whole philosophical discussion of what happens to souls after you die. It's like, if you go to the light, you become a part of it forever. Some people don't. Some people die, they don't know it, so they don't think to go to the light. So that's bad for them, and they get angry and jealous to see people who are alive. Others get lost. So there's all these different options. But this helps explain why somebody might be angry to be what they don't know of as dead. So now we've heard all that. We got some of that storyline out of the way. So it's middle of the night now. Family is asleep. The Lesh team is working. One of them goes to get a snack. Walk me through this. Who gets a snack that is an entire steak from somebody else's freezer? I'm just like, it's not a normal reaction to a midnight snack to just fix up a steak, I don't think. And don't you worry, it's not happening, because this guy is going to see the steak crawling across the counter and then maggots popping out from it. And then he goes into this bathroom / sort of like storage wash area. And he, like a heat lamp turns on and his face starts melting off and peeling off, and he's scratching it off, and he's got an exposed skull underneath it. Don't worry, that was gross, but it was just a hallucination. So the spirits are messing with him. They don't want him back. Because if you're going to make somebody else's steak in the middle of the night, we don't need you here. So meantime, the machine is starting to pick up some paranormal activity. We've got Ryan, the other worker. He's got headphones on. He's drawing. He's not noticing what's happening, but things are happening. And we're like, look, watch. The cameras are detecting it and they're turning. Smoke is filling the living room. The bedroom door opens and light emits from it. The guy who was in the kitchen comes in. He's like, oh my God, he gets Ryan's attention. The wispy hand situation starts again that we saw with Carol Ann earlier. But then it becomes longer and longer and it turns into the figure of a woman. Everybody's awake now watching this and they think it's beautiful. It's kind of it's a peaceful image. Maybe if I saw this, I would not be reacting the way they are, but she is just sort of floating gently down the stairs looking beautiful. She comes to the center of the room and then she gets sucked up into the ceiling and they're all mesmerized by this. Dr. Lesh then says, did we get a recording of this? When they look at the recording, they got it, but it's different than what it looked like to them at the time. So instead of seeing that woman, what they're going to see is sort of a parade of these souls, like all of these people who are haunting the house. So they're amazed and saddened by this. So many of these lost souls in the house. Next day, we're going to see Robbie goes off to stay with somebody else. And in another lovely comedic scene from the dog, so it was just Robbie he might be staying with his grandparents. Robbie gets into a cab. The dog runs out of the house, looks back at Steve and Diane's like, gets in the car with Robbie. It's like, protector my butt. Not happening. Okay. Dog wants to be safe. Dog is smart. Dog is smarter than perhaps all of the people. We'll see. So the worker who was in the kitchen with the steak, he's not coming back. We don't need you here. Okay. And then Ryan and Dr. Lesh are going to stick it out. Steve's boss is going to come in right around now. He's going to check on Steve. It's been a while since Steve's been working. He hasn't been showing homes to people, and that worries Steve. He wants to scope the situation. It worries the boss. He wants to scope the situation out. He wants to make sure that Steve still wants to work with him. So Steve is like trying to usher him out of the house as paranormal activity is happening around him. And Steve's boss is like, let me show you around town. I want to keep you as part of the family here. So he's going to take Steve on a little field trip in a moment. First, we're going to see Diane knock on Carol Ann's bedroom door just to try to talk to her. She even makes the mistake of trying to open the door because yesterday it wasn't so bad. It was just fun things flying around. This time, though, there's a scream and wind. It's bad. She's crying. She's terrified by this. So now we need to put some sense behind all of this stuff that's happening. We need to explain the unexplainable. So Steve's boss is going to show him a new area that they want to develop. It's a nice big patch of land with all spaces for all kinds of houses to be there. It's pretty close to a cemetery, but don't you worry about that. He's like, look, any of your kids born here? Yeah, Carol Ann was born in your house, wasn't she? That would explain why the house wants her. He's like, yeah, you all look a little worse for the way. Do you all have a flu? What's happening here? I didn't see you all. Steve's like, whatever. Just what are we doing here? The boss is like, look, let's call a spade a spade. Are you thinking about leaving? Because we thought about making you a partner and we should have done that. And I want to bring you in on it now on the ground floor for this new development. A lot of potential here. You can really grow with the company. Steve's like, it's right next to a cemetery. Boss is like, not a problem. We've dealt with this before. We'll just move the cemetery. It's fine. Steve's like, you've done it before. Isn't that sacrilegious? So we find out that the entire Cuesta Verde Estates is built on an ancient burial ground, which is really going to come home to roost later, isn't it? So he's feeling good about himself. He's your basic corporate greedy guy who doesn't care who and what he's hurt, dead or undead. So we're going to go to the Freeling house. And now we're going to see Zelda Rubinstein come in. Tangina. They're showing Tangina around. We're going to find out that she is a woman who cleans houses. She feels a presence in the living room. I remember Zelda Rubinstein from a couple things from when I was younger. She has just such a like her face is just burned in my brain. She's just such another iconic image. Like so many of the scenes that she's in this film, she's just iconic in them. The family hasn't heard Carol Ann since last night, so Diane's pretty upset about that. But Tangina's like, "Why is the door locked?" Steve messes with her, trying to get her to read his mind. She's like, "No, we're not doing that." She asks for Diane's hand and she explains, like, don't worry, your daughter is alive here. You need to be strong. Hey, are you able to do anything that I ask, even if it's against your beliefs? Diane says, yes. To save my daughter, you betcha. Everybody's going to gather around. She's going to explain, we need a little bit more philosophy here to help put context to everything that's about to happen for the rest of the movie. She's going to say, death isn't really a thing. It's just a transition to a different sphere of consciousness. Carol Ann is in a place right now where she's not like the other people that she's with. They're attracted to her life force because it's so strong and it's illuminating in its way. It's a distraction for the souls. She's a bad influence. She's peer pressuring them. What they really need is to go to the light. They need to pass on. She needs to not. She's like, the light's the salvation for all these other people. She can lead them there. She can help them cross over. She's like the Pied Piper of spirits in a way. And she's only going to hear Diane's voice. So Diane has to be her coach in this matter. But there's a trick. So all of that I'm sure sounded really good, but there's a rub. The rub is there's a terrible presence with her. It's full of rage, it's full of betrayal, and it's strong, and it's keeping her close, and he's keeping her away from the light so she can't lead all those other spirits to it, all those other souls to it. It lies to her. It looks like another kid. And she's like, okay, does that all make sense to you? I don't know how I know this, but I just know. Let's go get your daughter. So now we're prepping some rope and some tennis balls. We're going to do a little test with this. Diane is going to call to Carol Ann. We find out that Carol Ann is under restraint right now. Tangina is like, well, then whoever is meaner to her needs to get her attention right now. And they're like, I guess that's Steve. So Steve's going to chastise her. Carol Ann, you speak to me. So now we're going to get Carol Ann to answer. Diane asked her about the light, and now Tangina's like, tell her to go to the light. Go to the light. Mommy is waiting in the light. Now she thinks she's killing her daughter. These people need to get their stories straight about this light. We're going to open the closet door in Carol Ann's bedroom. Tangina goes in. There's flickering lights. There's so much wind. There's Ryan is going to run a test. So he's standing at the other end of the portal in the living room. She's got some tennis balls. She throws them through. He catches them a floor below. And they're gooey when they come out. It's gross. It's jello. It's like, yeah. She throws both of the balls through, and then she's going to throw a rope into the light so that there's like something to grip onto that connects both planes. So they've got everything kind of set up to this. And now she gets Diane to call to Carol Ann, don't go to the light. What do you want Carol Ann to do? If I were Carol Ann, I'd just be like, you guys make up your mind. I'm going to sit right here. I mean, what's up with the light? Make up your minds, folks. Now, don't go into the light. Turn away from the light. Okay. So Diane is now going to make the decision. She's going to sacrifice herself. She's going to be wrapped in the rope. Steve's going to hold it. He's going to like send her into the light, and he's going to be able to pull her back if he needs to. And she's going to go in and retrieve Carol Ann. It's a very brave move. They have this wonderful goodbye kiss. I mean, the stuff of legends, the stuff of Steven Spielberg films, I mean, again, put this in your romantic movie trailer if you're making one. The music swells. She goes into the closet. She's consumed by the closet. She's in the portal. Tangina is saying, cross over. Also, I just need to say, to decide who was going in, Tangina was going to go. She was really going to go. Her plan, she always intended to go. But then Diane fought her on it and she was like, no, I should go. It's my kid. And Tangina's like, no, 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 this is me. I'm the expert. And Diane's like, but you've never done this before. And she was like, you go. That's fine. Didn't take a lot of convincing for Tangina to back out of that. So, Diane's hopefully going to save the day here. Tangina is saying, cross over, children, go to the light. Peace and serenity are in the light. Steve's like, you said don't go into the light. What do you? He is so frustrated by her lack of transparency and lack of good communication skills that he starts pulling on the rope. He's just like, no, stop pulling on the rope. Bad things will happen. He's like, no, I don't believe you. I'm pulling the rope. And up comes that evil demon, that one that's rageful and he's all about betrayal and he is so angry. That guy comes out. Ugh. Okay. But at least he's preoccupied with something else. So now Diane and Carol Ann are going to fall out the other side of the portal onto the living room floor. They're not awake. They're unconscious still, covered in goo, getting goo all over the place. Now, if you remember from the movie The Blob, my big complaint about that was the goo didn't get everywhere. It didn't leave a residue behind. This does. This is gross. They're motionless. They put them in the bath. They start wiping them down and that wakes them up. They're awake. They breathe. Caroline's like, hi, daddy. So good. Everybody's safe. Tangina comes out and she's like, this house is clean. But she's like, she's being filmed by Ryan. And so she's like fixing her hair and she gives the old, this house is clean. I also enjoyed, if you ever saw the movie Ace Ventura, I believe it was the first one, Pet Detective. He makes fun of this line, and this is what I believe this is what he's referencing. So Tangina's work is done. Another house cleaned. The Freelings are working on moving out the next day. They are not into it. They're putting things in the moving truck. Diane's mysteriously got a gray streak in her hair now from whatever experience she just had in the light or near the light or around the light or looking away from the light. Carol Ann doesn't remember a thing about what happened. She seems unfazed entirely. So we're going to see Carol Ann and Robbie playing in the bedroom that, honestly, if I were Robbie, I'd be like, heck no, Carol Ann might not remember this, but I remember this and I'm out. So Diane is in the tub. She's going to dye that streak back to her hair color. And she's going to sit in the tub for like the longest stretch, making you think that we're going to go Nightmare on Elm Street on this and have something coming up out of the water or something. But as long as we sit there watching her just motionless in the tub with the heat lamp on her, that's not what's happening right now. So Robbie hears a thud from the clown that was on the chair. It has jumped off of the chair. It is not there anymore. He's like, oh my God. He checks under one side of the bed, not there. He checks under the other side of the bed, not there. He sits back up. The clown is behind him and wraps its hand around his mouth. What? I mean, talk about, this is why people are afraid of clowns. So it drags him under the bed. So now Robbie is fighting this clown under the bed. Because, you thought that the movie had ended when Carol Ann and Diane were saved. But no, because the evil guy is still there. And he's probably pretty angry that they just, I'm assuming, like they let all of those souls pass through into the light, that he was trying to avoid letting that happen. So he needs to exact some sort of retribution on this. So so Robbie's dealing with this clown. Diane lays back in bed. She's covered the streak in her hair. Her hair is completely dry somehow. And she's lying there. Robbie is screaming, dealing with the clown attack situation. And something grabs her. It's trying to distract her so she can't get to the kids. So it's like pulling her shirt, it pulls her up the wall, across the ceiling. She finally escapes from that situation, but she can't get into the kids' room. The door is locked. Robbie can't get to her. She can't get to Robbie. Carol Ann's in there too. We start to get a glowing red light in the kids' closet. Some spirit knocks Diane down the stairs, won't let her get in at all. And at this point, like a hole breaks through the closet door and it becomes a wind tunnel in there. And the kids are trying to hold on for dear life so that they don't get sucked into this closet. Diane now runs out into the backyard. She's going to need some help, but first she's going to fall into the pool. And she's going to discover all of these skeletons now in the pool. So many of them coming up from underneath. And some of them are in entire coffins that are now coming up. And she's trying to get out, but it's all muddy. The neighbor helps her, the one who really couldn't care less about this family anymore, him and his wife. They're going to help Diane out. She's like, come into the house with me. They're like, no, that looks horrible in there. We helped you out of the pool and that's enough. So she's going to run into the house now. And she's going to try to get herself to the kids. She finally gets her way up through their door. It's all one big wind tunnel in there trying to suck the kids in. They all grip her hand and she pulls everybody to safety on the other side of the door. And so now we're going to get Steve coming home. As we're continuing to get more dead bodies, more skeletons, more entire coffins popping up out of the ground and out of the floor in various places around the house. Steve is being driven home by his boss, and they're like, what the heck? The boss can't believe his eyes. Steve's like, the family, my entire family, except my oldest child. So he is running into the house, but all these things are popping, all these bodies and coffins are popping up and he can't get to his family. So finally, with so much chaos, just the number of things that are like popping across the frames, like it's almost hard to track everything. It's just a lot of mayhem. Very violent situation with whatever demonic presence is in this house right now. And finally, the family gets together. Most of them anyway. We've got Steve and Diane, we've got Carolyn and Robbie. They all get into the car. He's fumbling with his keys to try to get in because you got to spend some time fumbling with keys here. He eventually gets in, turns on the car. Meanwhile, Dana's friend drops her off at this very moment. And Dana just spends a good long time screaming at the house. She can't believe it. Meanwhile, all she has to do is get in the car that's running. Her family pulls up. They're like, get in the car. She's like, ah. Just get in the car. That's like really your best option at this point. And so finally she gets in the car. The house is so angry. They're going to drive away, which is the smart thing to do, not like the rest of the people in the neighborhood who just stand there and actually approach the house to watch what's going down. The boss is like, ooh, maybe it was a bad idea to build this place on a burial ground. Steve told him a thing or two on the way out. He was like, you moved the cemetery, but you left the bodies. You only move the headstones. What the hell is wrong with you, man? So, I mean, let that be a lesson to all of us. Corporate greed, huh? So the house now is going to like crumple in on itself and disappear as the whole neighborhood has now assembled around the house, like on the street at a safe distance, but not really. Why? Why would you get closer to this? The boss just sees all this and he starts crying. The family drives away past a "You are now leaving Cuesta Verde" sign. They're going to stay at a Holiday Inn. And it seems like the movie should have already ended, but they did want to have a little button on this. So they're going to, like, they're just bedraggled, all of them just walking into this hotel room. Diane's not even, she doesn't even have pants. So unfortunate. But they're all walking into this hotel room. They shut the door and then the door opens again and Steve wheels out the TV from the room onto the balcony. Not gonna let that in this. Nope, no more TVs. Nope. And then he shuts the door again and the camera pulls back and we get that pleasant, idyllic music again. What a lovely town this is to live in. Just as we pull back into the night and leave this family where they are. I love this button at the end. You know, like it feels like there are 3 endings to this film. Like it feels like it could have ended 3 different times. when they go around again for the Holiday Inn bit, you're like, wow, we're really close to the end of this film. What are they going to do in this Holiday Inn? But I do like the fact that wheeling the TV out of the hotel room is a button. It's a funny moment. This movie has had them throughout. There are many moments here where you're like, oh man, these guys. But it also makes a lot of sense. If you've been traumatized like this by any object and then you see the object, you don't want it near you. So it makes a lot of sense to me that they would have that happen at the end of this film for more than one reason. But yeah, I do wonder if everybody feels good about how this ends, or if it feels like it drags because they keep getting to things that feel like another ending. So I am interested to know your thoughts on that. But that's the film. I really enjoy it. Like I said, there's this playful energy to the film. It's certainly got like just pure mayhem. Once you get to the crescendo of chaos that's going on inside the Freeling house, it's I wonder what it was like to shoot this, what it actually looked like being on set, what was being practically done with this, because it's so amazing in the frame. It looks so great on TV or on your screen. But what was it in the room? Like, it's just so interesting to me to think about. It's pure evil. It's a lot. When you start with simple things like a chair moving across the floor, and then they really escalate it. You have when they're opening the door to the closet and all of the things are sort of floating around, and it seems still like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then it takes a turn, and you have some stuff happening that become a lot more sinister. And to have like the crescendo of it at the end is downright alarming. But then between all of those moments, they just have these little like comedic moments that I don't think take the air out of it. Like, I don't think it lessens the horror of it, but it does give you these little things that sort of keep it light at times. And I like that energy in this film. I also love the fact that there's just a lot of nostalgic elements in this to absorb and to look around and sort of remember that time in my childhood, which sort of matches where Robbie and Carol Ann were at that time. So that's this film. That's what I thought about Poltergeist. What did you think about Poltergeist? Let me know in the comments. And here's what I really want to ask. My scary meter is busted. I have seen so many horror movies at this point in my life that I am just desensitized to them. So I don't really know how scary a movie actually is if I'm trying to make a recommendation to somebody. So this is where you come in. I would love for you to pull out your scary meter and let me know in the comments on a scale of 1 to 10 how scary you thought this movie was. 1 being not scary, 10 being so scary. Where does this one rate for you? And it'll help any of us to figure out which ones are safe to recommend to people who are looking for different kinds of things. So that's the plan, and let's see where we land with it. And next time we're gonna have day 8. We're gonna watch the movie Orphan. I'm gonna put this one into the creepy kid / psychological subgenres. And it's a fun one. I really like this one. And it's got Vera Farmiga, who's so good. So I am very much looking forward to watching Orphan with you all next time. I hope you'll join me again. Happy EEKtober, everybody. Get spooky, get donuts.